Which dead game would you like to see reborn? I am curious to see the other answers for this today. It's a very interesting question. I am one of, I think, many folks who believe this is a golden age of RPGs, and that's for a lot of reasons. The barrier to entry into being a creator is, thanks to technology, it's pretty low. Between the technology and then services like Lulu and Lightning Source and One Bookshelf, if you've got it in you to make a role-playing game, you can do it. Now, what does that have to do with reviving a dead game? Well, I think they're related because right now there aren't many dead games left. We've seen the revival of lots of them. Feng Shui, Unknown Armies. A few years ago, a little game I'm a fan of called Deadlands got revived through the Savage Worlds rule system. So many. 20th anniversary World of Darkness games. Torg Eternity. So Torg is back. So really, the entire OSR. So really, what's left? Not a whole lot. And I think that's a good thing. So I have two games in mind, but I want to qualify it. First, I believe that any revival or reincarnation or new edition, whatever you want to call it, of a game should improve the game in some way. This is a bone of contention for critics of the OSR. They talk about, well, if you're just going to reprint the same rules, why bother? You can get that stuff in used bookstores, and now, Wizards of the Coast is releasing them in PDF and all that sort of thing. I'm going to use Ostrich as an example. Ostrich is a retro clone of a lovingly crafted retro clone of first edition AD&D. And I would argue that even though the mechanics are basically identical to first edition AD&D, it is an improvement. And it's an improvement because organization was not a strong suit of role-playing games in the 70s and 80s. Ostrich is wonderfully organized, very easy to reference, and frankly, if I was standing in a store with the option to buy first edition AD&D or Ostrich, based on what I know, I would buy Ostrich every time because of how well it's organized. So, and I do have Ostrich on my shelf. Bought it through Lulu, and I've got it on PDF as well. But anyway, so really, some improvement is what I'm looking for. Now, often I want mechanical improvement. So Torg Eternity is a mechanical improvement over the original Torg. I'd argue that Feng Shui has mechanical improvements over the original version. And that's the case for most of them. So I want something better. Also, keep in mind that as the hobby grows, mechanics are getting more streamlined. Now, I don't mean rules light. I mean they follow a paradigm better than they used to. Now, some folks are big fans of unrelated rule sets being mushed together into a game. My older brain just doesn't do that so well. So I like to have a tight paradigm. Even though, for instance, Savage Worlds is a medium crunch game, medium to high crunch game, really. It follows a very tight paradigm. And what I mean by that is, if you don't recall a rule in Savage Worlds, you can usually make a ruling and then later on go back and find out that you got pretty close. So that's an important thing to me is to have an improvement. I think Deadlands Reloaded is an improvement over Deadlands Classic. Some would say that it's at the cost of the feel of the Deadlands Classic rules, and that might be true. But at the end of the day, I like that the game is easier to play and run. So, what game or games would I like to see brought back from the dead? I will qualify this first one. It is Star Frontiers. Now, there have been several love letters of late written to Star Frontiers. Frontier Space from DWD Studios is coming out. It's been in playtest for a while. They're in the process of actually putting the books together, book or books, I don't recall which. And those are the guys that have actually been keeping Star Frontiers alive all these years through the Frontiersman magazine. I think it's called the Frontiersman. And they did the digital remaster of the original Star Frontiers. So if anybody's going to get it right, it's these guys with Frontier Space. It's pretty much going to be Star Frontiers. I know that the last parsec from Pinnacle for Savage Worlds is a love letter to Star Frontiers. So that's another thing to keep in mind. Just because the serial numbers have been filed off doesn't mean a game hasn't been revived. But on this other one, my quote real answer, since like I said, I really feel like Star Frontiers has been revived, just with different names, is a game by Eden Studios called Witchcraft. Witchcraft uses the Unisystem, and its most popular versions were probably the Buffy the Vampire Slayer and Angel role-playing games, and of course, All Flesh Must Be Eaten. Maybe the zombie role-playing game that started the zombie craze in role-playing. So, Witchcraft didn't sell great. Eden Studios was actually its second home, I believe. And I think it has a lot to do with it gets compared. It came out during the height of World of Darkness, and it gets compared to World of Darkness quite a bit. But I actually liked it better. I liked it better mechanically. I liked it better from a story perspective. They did do quite a few books for it, and most of those are still available. In fact, the core book for Witchcraft is currently available as a free download through Eden Studios. They made it available for everybody. So you can go play it right now. But I would love to see some improvements. And in this case, we're looking at improvements in mechanics and also in organization. The multiple books that were put out kind of left you with the rules all over the place. So I'd love to see sort of an omnibus, and I wouldn't mind someone taking another pass at the Unisystem to clean it up a little bit. In fact, maybe even bring it over to the cinematic Unisystem, which makes it run a little bit faster. But yeah, Witchcraft would be awesome. I've gotten to play it before, and I've run it as well. And I try to play games. When I play games, that's one of the games I'm sort of emulating when I do my dark action horror / urban fantasy games in a modern era that I tend to gravitate toward. Witchcraft is always on my mind. So there you go. Witchcraft. I wonder if anybody else will give that as an answer. So let me turn it around. What dead game would you like to see brought back to life? Reborn. Until then, or I should say until tomorrow, do good, avoid evil, and play more games.